Yeah, as the internet may determine.
Oh, hi!
We're live! Hello! It is Deb and Beck. We're a little flustered because we just attempted to go live on a preset schedule. Could not work out how to do it. So we're going to have to play around with that. This is Dare2BU making history. This is our first real, scheduled, planned, supposed to be happening, going live on YouTube video.
But it's not quite scheduled. And it did say there were 2 people waiting to watch the other one. So whether we have lost the people that were waiting, I don't know. So sorry if we...
Hello, Lisa. You found us. So we're not entirely sure how the technology connects up. So we're going to play around with that a bit more. But we just thought it would be fun to come on and see how this worked, because we're planning from next week to do this every week as like a proper show with a format and some really helpful stuff coming to you. So we were going to start today with an invitation, actually, because in July, from the 22nd of July, for 5 days, we're going to do a free challenge, a free self-love challenge. So we would really love you guys to join in with us. It'd be great fun to have you on board. We absolutely love doing challenges, don't we? Like, just there's something
Definitely.
about that.
For me, pretty much that's kind of what I do. That's my style of learning. That's how I, if I'm stuck anywhere in my life, whatever, I kind of set myself mini challenge, and they can be huge challenges or tiny mini challenges. What happens if, or in any level. So I absolutely, definitely, it's been what has moved me forward, what has changed everything in my life, just from the tiniest of challenges to the huge challenges. And one of the very first ones, I know I've shared this in the Warriors Journey before, one of the very first challenges that I ever kind of did for myself was, here's Beck drinking her tea. I had one of these things where I drank my tea out of the same mug every day, and I'd kind of got it set up. It seems that we have these things as almost like our an OCD safety kind of thing, isn't it? Or if I do this, the day's going to go okay. So I had this thing about drinking my tea out of the same mug, and it was absolutely huge for me. I challenged myself to drink my tea out of a different mug each day for the week. And now it sounds like no big deal, but I can't tell you what shifted for me when I sort of had the realization the world didn't end when I drank tea out of a different mug. And it is amazing how many weird things that our mind does, how we have things set up in this way. So for me, challenges they're life-changing. They're huge. They just shift things around for us. And you know what, you can go back to drinking your tea out the same mug afterwards if you want to, but it is literally playing around with where have you boxed yourself in. So yeah, for 5 days we've got this invitation to play around with getting to know you, and what happens when you fall in love with yourself. Have a play. It's going to be fun.
Yeah. So what we said we would do today, because the challenge is around self-love, we thought we would just talk a little bit around why self-love looks important to us, why it looks like that would be something we would do challenges around. So it's actually it's topical because it's for both of us. It was something that was really key, wasn't it? With the kind of the way that I'd lived my life, and I think the same for you. We didn't really particularly like ourselves. We didn't know a lot about ourselves. We didn't know that we were likable people. And the more when we came across the understanding that we share, the more that we kind of got to know ourselves and gently fell in love with ourselves in a really genuine way, like in a real kind of understanding how human beings work and how life really works. It just started to become obvious that liking, loving and caring for ourselves first is really, really important. And and it almost looks really obvious when you say it, and yet we're not so good at it. That if I'm feeling kind of good in myself and I like myself and I'm taking care of myself, I've got way more capacity to look out for someone else, to take care of someone else, and to be kind and compassionate to someone else. And we can see that. It's so obvious, isn't it? Like when when I'm in a grumpy headspace, I don't care about anyone else around me. Just get out of my way, And so when I come back to that space where I like myself again, and I'm interested in who I am and I'm doing things that make sense for me, I'm gonna have more capacity to be kind and compassionate to other people. And so that for me is massively why self-love, I really started to see more around self-love. Hi, Fred.
Hi.
Yeah, and I really started to kind of see more around how that's an amazing starting place.
Yeah, and the other thing that I saw is we have this thing where we kind of pretend almost to, or I don't know, it was definitely something I did. I had this whole thing of, oh yeah, being a martyr, I suppose it is,
Yeah.
oh, I'm gonna put somebody else first, but it wasn't coming from a nice place within me. It was kind of like, oh yeah, you choose, you do this, and then I'd be really annoyed if the person didn't do what I kind of wanted them to do. And very much, in my relationship with Russ now, if I want him to remember my birthday or I want him to do something nice for me at the weekend, I tell him that's what I want to do. I don't play these guessing games that I used to from a place of real insecurity within me. It would be like I would maybe think that I dropped some hints or done something like that, and then he had to do the right thing. He had to guess what it was I wanted him to do. And again, this was coming from this place of somewhere in me not feeling good enough and feeling like there was something out there that needed, somebody else needed to give me this validation. But then I would play this really weird, silly game that they would have to guess how to do that. It's a really weird thing that human beings do, isn't it? And I can see now that came from a real place of insecurity in me. And now, do you know what? If I want something from somebody in a really nice, kind way, I'll just ask them, and they'll either say yes or no, and either's fine because I'm okay. But I get lots more of what I want now.
Yeah.
From a completely
absolutely
different place. Yeah.
And I think for both of us, kind of exploring that in an environment where you just get to go out and play, a little bit like when you're a child and you get to go and play on a playground that's got a really soft floor. You can kind of climb up the climbing frame knowing that if you slip a little bit, you're going to land on a nice soft ground. That for us is what challenges are. It's a soft playground. It's let's go out and be curious and play around with this and see if it's possible to do, as Deb was saying there, to see through the insecurity and know that, hey, do you know what? If I want my partner or my children or my parents or even my colleagues to know something about me or to treat me in a different way, what if I just ask them? Is that possible? And the more we see how we work and the more we see that other people work in the same way, that just becomes easier. And for me, the challenges are a really safe place and a soft playground environment in which to do that. So that's why we kind of set up these challenges. And for us, I think that's why self-love is the one we're doing in July.
Yeah, it's definitely a great starting point for us because, like you say, we both had huge shifts around that. And I've seen other people have huge shifts around that too. I think when we kind of have these realizations, it's really good. And curiosity, that's the other thing. Challenges are all about getting curious, and that is definitely. I just love to be curious about things.
Yeah.
In the last week, somebody I can't remember. I think it was Leanne Brooke Tyler. I was reading something that she'd written, and she was talking about first principle thinking, and I had no idea what first principle thinking was. And another time, I would have been really insecure about saying, hey, I don't know what first principle thinking is. It's I would have been worried about looking stupid, but I was just like, hey, don't know what that means, can you tell me what it is, please? And things like that have shifted for me. I will ask people those questions. I don't mind if I don't know something. And so anyway, she answered. We had a really nice conversation. We talked about what first principle thinking is. She sent me to a YouTube channel to go and find out about it, to see what it was. And basically, to me, what it came across as, and maybe I have misunderstood this, but what it came across as is that, we often have starting points, and all our reasoning that we do afterwards, if this is the starting point, then anything that comes after it makes sense from where, if that starting point is true. And what I've seen with curiosity is very often our starting point isn't the truth. And self-love shifted so much for me around that, because my starting point was, I'm not good enough, or I need validation from somebody outside of me. And if we start from a place of needing validation from outside, needing to please somebody else so that we're okay, everything, it's kind of like, if this, then that, if you like. If this is true, then my life is going to move forward in that way. So there's a huge if this, then that. And this, and what kind of first principle thinking is about, is kind of seeing this starting point. Is it true? And I think that is kind of what curiosity and challenges. It kind of gets your starting point for anything, for whatever it is, and challenges it. Kind of says, is it true? And then we play around and find out if it's true or not. Because if this changes, then that changes.
Yeah, everything after. It's like the classic, we used to think the world was flat. And if the world was flat, don't sail too close to the edge. That's perfectly logical. But when somebody went back to that, the world is flat starting point, and went, what if it isn't? Suddenly we can sail all the way around the world because it isn't flat, and we're not going to fall off the edge. And that changed everything around, lots and lots of things changed off the back of seeing that actually the world wasn't flat. But that was the starting point for a really long time. And because that was the starting point, lots and lots of things were dealt with in a different way to how we deal with them now. Because it would make sense, if the world was flat, then don't sail too close to the edge, don't do this, don't do that. And now we know that that starting point was entirely wrong. It changed a massive amount of stuff. And that's hugely for us with the self-love thing, wasn't it? It was like,
well, my starting point was, I'm not lovable.
Yeah.
There's something I need to do. So I have to act in a certain way so people love me. I can't just show up as me. I can't dare to just be me. I can't do that. I'm not good enough. So that was my starting point. I can't just be who I am. So if that's my starting point, I'm already got a huge job to do before I can, move forward at all. And it's kind of like, what if that's not true? What if I am actually good enough? What if I am lovable just as I am, just showing up as me, just being this? What if that? And very much, it's kind of challenges. They question that.
Yeah.
They shake it around and change that first assumption. What if we went in? What if we did just, go from a place of I am good enough? What happens then? And so, that it's a fun way to challenge some of the thinking that we just take as real and true. And as human beings, it's mind-boggling how much thinking we have. Like I started this conversation talking about, drinking my tea out of the same mug. I wasn't even aware that I really had that thinking till I kind of challenged it and sort of looked at, is it possible to drink your tea out of a different mug?
It is. So we'll drop some information below this video once it's on YouTube with how to join in if you're interested in joining that free challenge. And our plan from next week is to be here doing a show every week. I think next week we'll do same time, 10 o'clock next Wednesday. And then after that, we're going to put out a poll on Facebook to see what times are good for people and go with the majority, because we'd like to start doing a regular slot on YouTube and having people kind of being around and listening to anything we share that's helpful. Hi, Max. So look out for us this time next week. And then we'll let you know next week what our regular time will be. And look out for the poll on Facebook if you've got some input on what times you'd like that to be. But we're going to be here every week.
So, and we're going to kind of have a subject. So, and we're going to answer questions. So we already have some questions, but if you've got any questions or if you've got a subject that you would particularly like us to discuss, then please, feel free. This is going to be very much about how can we help you? What can we do for you that is useful? What can we share that would help you moving forward? And we're really, really excited to be doing this every week from now on. So, and if there is a time, if there is a particular time that is better for you, we've decided on a Wednesday, haven't we? But if there is a particular time that is more helpful for you, that you could be here listening, then, be with us live, and that'd be great. Let us know.
Thank you ever so much for joining us.
Have a great day. Thank you for making Dare2BU history, being here with us.
Bye.
Bye.